So in this video, guys, I'm going to give you, from the perspective of an owner-operator, as much information as I possibly can on how to run this CLB65. So first things first, you're going to be at the dock, so you're going to have to disconnect the shore power. Big 32 ampere goes in here, and then a startup procedure, just simulated, not actual startup. Come on through here, one door, second door, watch your head, come in down here, this beautiful big engine room. I like it when it's a light color like this, but you're going to come over to this panel here. Don't even necessarily need to open it all, but you're going to need to activate your generator battery, and then your port and starboard engine batteries are going to have to go on. Your house battery is this one. It's probably already going to be connected because you'll be connected to shore power, and then come straight over here and just start your genset. You've got another checker plate aluminium, so you can step over here. You've got something to hold on to here, and you can start the genset like so. Then with that power, we head upstairs to activate power to the motors. So from the lower helm, use your security key fob. You don't have to use these, but if you're conscious of that, that then activates both ignitions, check neutral, start, start. Okay guys, welcome to the lower helm. We're going to test the Flybridge later on in the video, but I'm just going to take you straight out into the ocean, and I'm going to try and bring you along for the ride as we go through some waves, and we're going to test this boat in displacement speed, and then we're going to get her up at planing speed and try her on a few different angles, because I suspect many of you are going to be looking at this boat as a real coastal pleasure boat. So a grey nomad, although I saw a lot of grey nomads with not grey hair, so maybe we need to rename that, because there was quite a few fit 65-year-olds yesterday at the boat show, so might have to come up with a new name. But and maybe it's all the boating you're doing. But I'm going to try my best to tell you what the fuel flow is like, describe the experience. I have the stabilizer fins on right now. I'm just observing a dredge, two dredges off my bow, and I'm just making sure I stay clear of them before I take up the speed. And then we're going to come back inshore. I'll switch to the Flybridge. You can see what the experience is like up there, and we will test out the full speed in flat water, but we will do that both up and down tide. Just got a boat on my bow here. I better show him clear intentions. And oh, that's good. It's not even Sunday. Sorry, I turned to starboard, and so did he. There you go. Or sorry, he went to port, I meant to say. Alrighty, we'll just clear our way through here. So a couple observations before we wind the speed up. This hull is dry. It's very, very dry. So I want you to look at the drone photography that we've got to aid this video as we exit the bar here. The tide is about to change, so these waves might be starting to stand up as we come back in through the bar, but there is a little bit of swell out there. So what's that going to mean for you? It means that the end of your day's boating, if you are using this as a pleasure weekend vessel, not the full-on grey nomad cruising Australia experience, you're just not going to have to watch the foredeck. And it's annoying when you have to do too much mucking about with big boats. So that is a real thing. If you're coming from something 20 feet smaller than this, it is something you want to factor in. All right, my last boat here, just got a guy fishing in the middle of the channel now. I'm just going to watch out for surfers. Quite a few guys paddle across this channel, so I don't want to, and they do it in black wetsuits. I don't particularly want to run over anyone today. Looking good. So D13 IPS drives on this boat. Huge amount of control. We will demo that at the dock later in the video, but now I'm just going to come up through the speed. So we're on 13 knots right now. I got a average fuel economy of 8.3 litres per nautical mile and 72 litres total, and I'm going to accelerate because it feels like it's digging its bum too much at that speed and she wants to go faster, so I'm going to do that. Quite a few boats coming in and out today. They're all testing after the boat show. Let's just increase that speed, and then we'll play with a few different angles and speeds when we're in the ocean. All right, coming up through 18 knots. So observations from before whilst flying the drone. quiet, smooth, dry. The construction of this boat feels top notch. I don't notice much in the way of rattles or creaks going through the waves. Every boat moves, you've got to expect that, but I know, having studied the boat the other day at the boat show, there is quite a decent amount of carbon fibre in the construction of this boat at critical points. She's about 41 tonne overall, and it feels good. We're going through some waves now. We're just doing that at a speed of 18 knots. Got a boat passing me to port. He's going to put off some waves in a second. I'm going to increase my speed, go into the waves. Okay, going through waves on port and starboard right now, and some of them are short and sharp with the tide. Let's just watch the bow. Hopefully this camera will pick it up. See what I was saying about no water over the front? So that, look around the side, and I even had to use the crew toilet before. It's quite dry. Let's just go south, and we'll just maintain this speed. I might just bring her up to 21 actually. Let's maintain 21 knots. I don't think offshore is about going full speed, because you want to eat up the miles and get a feel for that. I might play with the trim in a second. I'm just going to settle in first. All right, let's just get her to 20, 21, 22. I'll play with the trim. Just going to see what lowering the nose does. Okay, that's noticeable. More cutting action as I'd expect, and I saw a speed increase just there. I'm at 2,230 revs with 23.5 knots, really comfortably. So if you are taking older people or anyone who gets uncomfortable on a boat and you need to eat up some miles, this is a great boat to do it on, because I've got the fin stabilization working for us. We are in offshore conditions right now. We've got pretty long wave period, but there was some short stuff exiting the bar, and she's just eating this up. I could put my footrest down and really enjoy myself for a long time, steer with my feet if I so chose. But let's just slow the boat down now, and we'll give you some longer range economy. That was 72 litres average fuel rate at 2,240 revs, and let's slow her down. Let's go for range. That's the average fuel rate. Sorry, I was reading from the wrong dial. I was giving 200 litres an hour, so I'll correct that in a second. That was giving me averages. All right, I want to come back to about 12, see how she feels, because I suspect you're going to do this. 16 knots just there. I think that puts off quite a great deal of wash, so I would avoid that speed, particularly if I'm inshore or around other people or boats. And let's just check our wash, coming down to 13 and 12 knots now. I'm at 1,500 revs, and my total fuel is reading at 108 litres for both motors. It's always confusing looking at these averages with the fuel economy. That throws you. Okay, 12 knots, 1,500 revs, 110 litres. Let's do 10 knots. Very comfortable, very comfortable. The attitude of the boat, fin stabilization's doing its thing. You could get some miles at this speed, and let's just try out 10 knots. Noise levels are great. You can walk around this whole boat, hold conversations. You don't really feel the need to raise your voice. So for longer periods of time, I don't see any issues. So now we're seeing 60 litres total consumption at 10 knots SOG, 1,210 revs. And just look, hopefully you can appreciate this from the drone, the stabilization doing its thing right now. So now look at the waves behind us. This is quite comfortable for a long period of time. And at that 60 litres, both motors, that's pretty cool. So there were some whales around. Let's just not hit them and increase our speed. Okay, there's a whale. So I'm going to turn before the whale, and I suspect they're heading north. I believe that's a whale. I just saw a spout, and I'm just going to increase my speed, and I'm going to start to turn with the swell. Okay, I think I'm all clear. As you would expect from any lower helm on a designer boat like this, you do lose a little bit of visibility with these pillars here. I think the solution is just to move your body, and you don't, remember, if you want the epic visibility, just drive from the Flybridge. We do have wing stations on this boat as well, so from a parking perspective, we'll just demo that later. You don't really have to be here. Okay, so I'm increasing my speed, 16 knots, and let's get up to 20, and let's put those waves on the beam. 1,950 revs, that's 230 litres total. I'm just going to straighten up there. Now I want you to look at, with the waves on the beam, the stabilisation doing its thing, and just once again feel the lack of rattles. Listen. It's really comfortable. Okay, 214 litres total, 1,970 revs, giving me a speed return of 19.5 knots. Let's just get 20. Still haven't seen any water. We'll do the walkthrough after this, and we will be able to double check that, but it's an incredibly dry hull. So many boats that I run of this size, I'll come out here and we'll be getting splashes up on the windscreen right now, and you know, we're inside, it's not the end of the world, but if you have a wet boat that you have to operate the windscreen wipers all the time, you're probably going to burn out windscreen wiper motors, and you have to clean it, which is annoying. So that looks good. Stabilization's nice. Now we're going to actually turn again to port, and we'll try going a little bit faster with the swell. I don't see any whales. I know they're around, so I'm going to put my sunnies on to see through this glare, and if I suddenly slow down, it means I've seen something. Okay. All right, bringing up the revs. 2100, 2150, 23 knots, boat feels good. So I still have some trim down. I might lose that in a second and just see how she feels. I can see 290 litres consumption now on the dial for both motors at 2,250. Let's just trim up, see if that takes the load off, see what happens there. Now that we're going down swell, I'm just playing. I don't know the answer right yet. Okay, 24. It's a whole different sensation going with the swell. She's got a little slow movement like this. You can feel the stabilizers doing their thing, and we're really moving now. We've got 25 knots. I'm gonna do wide open throttle inshore. I'm not gonna do that out here because I don't see the point. Once again, dry as we meet the back of these waves here. It's just sending the wash out to there. Very stable motion. Got some boat traffic up ahead, so I'm going to leave them all to starboard. I'm seeing 288 on the dial at 25 knots. Let's actually slow that down, because it's rare that you're going to be trying to race the thing in the ocean. So now let's just set it at 22. Incredibly quiet. Definitely feels very refined. You can put this in the same category as a lot of the British and Aussie boats that I have driven in terms of noise levels, comfort factor here at the lower helm. Okay, looks good. Can't see any whales. 21 knots. Even when you get some of the swells meeting the middle of the hull there, it's not sending vibrations up through the whole boat that make you feel uncomfortable. Some boats will do that. Alrighty, so we should be at about the change of the tide now, so it might be full slack water. Let me just check. I made a note. Okay, so it should be pretty calm compared to the drone shots you're going to see. It might actually be calmer now. We've just beaten the change of the tide, and soon after this, it's going to be standing up the waves with an outgoing tide. I'll leave that catamaran to starboard. Here we go, down some waves here. I'm surfing a few. They're not too big, so I'm happy to just keep this speed up. I'm seeing 260 litres. Nothing uncomfortable here. Directional stability is good. I feel like I've got heaps of control. And I'm not like having to, some boats because of the way they react in different sea states, cause you to use up a lot of mental energy, and it's tiring. And I'm not getting that right now. This is quite easy. Like, so if you are that person who's wanting to eat up some miles and do it in a relaxed manner, at the moment, from what I'm learning so far, it is that sort of boat. A couple of waves coming behind us. I will probably dial off the speed here, guys, because there's a couple of boats right in the middle of the channel and I don't really want to belt through them. So I'm going to dial back on the speed, and then we're going to find an opportunity in the channel without being rude to others, and then we're going to go right up to wide open throttle one way and then again the other direction. Okay, so I'm going to go in between these two boats. And I'm going to dial back on my speed just before I get to these guys so I don't give them a surf wave, watching out for surfers. Feels good. So keep watching and I'll see you inshore. Okay, I'm going to try this trial from the lower helm, then we're going to swap to the Flybridge and check out that experience before we go and anchor the boat, and then show you how it's like to use the wing stations right at the end of the video. I do just have to watch out for plenty of traffic, so I'll do my best, leaving green on the right and accelerating. Okay, let's do this. So I'm just going to get the boat right up and moving. 13 knots, 14 knots, increasing, 2000 revs, plenty of power here. A little bit of bow raise on acceleration, 2100. Now I'm foot to the floor, I'm just watching the revs climb. I'm going to start doing a bit of trim down in a second. I'm at 20 knots. We've got 95% of fuel on board when I checked earlier today, so lots of fuel, heavy boat. Okay, now I feel like I'm ready to introduce some trim. 22 knots. I can see fuel flow 290 litres. Now I'll trim down a little bit. Let's watch that bow. Okay, that's lowered considerably, and I can see my speed climbing. Okay, fuel flow maintaining the same at the moment. I might have to play with the trim a bit more. I got 24 knots on the dial, full load, 293 litres at 2,280. Shouldn't be too much tide. And let's give it a little bit more trim down, see if anything happens. I can't, might have dropped a degree or so on the horizon. 24 knots, steady. 24 knots, steady, 2,290 revs. Feeling good. Wake looks good, so what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to slow down for this next marker, and then we're going to turn around, pop up to the Flybridge and try it heading back the other direction, and then we'll go and anchor the boat and bring you along with us. Okay, let's come off the plane. I can even see good viz from this helm to see my wash coming off the plane, and I can see behind me as well, even though you've got those stairs on starboard, I can see people coming up behind me in a busy waterway like this, so it's not a problem. And if you haven't already noticed, the swim platform raises. So I didn't see the swim platform interfering with any of the wash when we were in the ocean on any angle. So it's at the right height. It's not going to dig in and put any unnecessary pressure on the system from what I gather. Okay, looks like we're going into the tide there. Just judging by that pole. So let's try it the other direction. Okay, here we are up at the Flybridge, guys. This is a very pleasant place to be. I've got excellent viz forward, wonderful social space around here, which we're going to show you in the walkthrough, but I'm just going to get this boat up and moving because I think we're going to get a little bit more speed this time around. So I want to test that. All right, I've got my speed just there, got my revs here, we know the fuel flow, and let's just get moving. Lots of wind in the hair for this one. 11 knots, 12 knots, 1400 revs, a little bit of bow raise there. Okay, I got one boat, I'm going to leave him to port. Markers red on the right, green on the left, 1800 revs. I'm seeing 17 knots. I'm not foot to the floor yet. 2000 RPM. All right, 21 knots, 22 knots, 2150. Okay, now I'm full throttle. I'm going to let that climb. 2200 revs. I got 24.5 knots already. Now I'm going to do a little bit of trim down. Yep, I can feel that. 25 knots and climbing. 2250 revs. 26 knots and climbing. Okay, a little bit of trim down does make a speed difference. 2270 revs. I'm going with the tide, guys, here. I'm seeing 26.5 there. Maybe I've trimmed down a little bit too much. I'm running out of room here. Definitely 27 knots, full load. Not a problem. Very nice. I think you probably see with a lighter ship, maybe, and a super clean bum, you might get up to 29 knots out of this thing if you've got not a full load of fuel on board like I do today. All right, let's head over to a nice shallow spot and we'll prepare the anchor and I'll show you how it's done. I think from up here on the Flybridge. Stand by, we'll do it now. Okay guys, here we are at our anchorage. You've got to go forward and remove the safety claw first before you're free to run, and then I've got my Maxwell operation here. I also have it foot pedals down on the bow, and I can do it from the lower helm too. My visibility from up here is absolutely epic, and as you'll see on the drone shot, we also have lots of clearance when the anchor drops from the bow. So just make sure the boat is stopped and then you're ready to put her in reverse. But apart from that, there's not much to worry about, like you would have perhaps on a flat stem bow, like some of the boats you see me test. Okay, I'm just coming up to the transom of this guy and I'm gonna make it reasonably tight. I'm in 3 meters depth. I draw 1.5 meters, so I'm gonna get the anchor down on the bottom and then I'll start reversing. We'll stop there. Okay, nice and easy. I'm going to see how that takes up. And we're on sand. Nice big heavy anchor here, and that feels like it's grabbing. Happy days. Okay guys, I'm at the wing station. We're just going to give this a little bit of a tickle up and see how it feels. I've got a high mode and a low mode, and I'm just going to slide the boat in. I'm going to come back. I'm not aligned there at the moment, so I might give that a little bit of alignment. There we go. Feel the torquiness of the motors there. So I'm a couple of meters off the dock and I'm going to need to come back, stop my aft progress, and then slide the boat in. Now I'm going to change my stance, stop my aft movement. Let's just start walking the boat in towards the dock, see how responsive that is. Nice and slow and controlled. See that, guys? That's happening. Don't need to speed it up too much. I'll just come back a little bit so I'm on the fenders. Little touch. Little touch there. What's great about these joysticks is that you can reverse your direction of travel, so I can go from my left hand to my right hand, and it still kind of makes sense as opposed to spinning your body around and doing it with throttles. But see, I got full viz here. My danger point or my risk point, which is my aft quarter, is safe. I'm just going to give that a little touch. There you go. And I can control it right now, even with this 1 meter distance. I can do it sort of with finger control. And now I'm actually going to deliberately walk the boat in and touch it on the fenders. And here we go. That's great. So just imagine if you're operating this boat with a partner, you can buy yourself lots of time, and even with all 40-tonner boat, having this wing station on both sides is an absolute must. Don't even think of getting it without it, because it's going to save you so much time. And then favour the starboard side whenever you possibly can. Wonderful. Totally doable. A little bit of practice, you guys will be fine.
We started out in Shanghai back in 1870.
That's awesome.
Sino-Japanese War.
Yep.
We lost everything in Shanghai.
Yep.
We moved down to Hong Kong in 1936.
Right.
And started from scratch again.
Okay.
That time we were refitting all this fishing junk with engine to run the Japanese blockade.
Oh, right. Wow, what a history. Sailing yachts, I've seen motorboats with your name. So when did you get into the pleasure market, and where did that all be focused on America initially, or how did that work?